Back in 2015, a young kid from Las Vegas named Hakeem Carter lost his uncle. The man's name was Garrel, and he rapped under the name Chaotic Lyricist. He was more than just family. He was one of the people who first made Keem believe that music was actually possible for someone like him. Garrel was struck and killed by a truck coming from a casino. The loss devastated Keem. If you know anything about how Keem grew up, you know that Las Vegas wasn't glamorous for him the way it looks to tourists. Blue-gray smoke hangs over his childhood memories. Coming of age there, he had never seen a hotel without cigarettes. His mother smoked inside the family's apartment, and on his latest album, he likens it to living in a haunted house. Garrel was one of the people who made it feel like there was something beyond it. So when he died, Keem was lost, not just emotionally, practically lost in terms of where his life was supposed to go. He said he felt lost after this tragedy, and then something happened at the funeral that nobody planned and nobody could have predicted. Fighting tears, Keem delivered the eulogy. He recalled playing basketball with his uncle. In the audience for the funeral was his cousin, Kendrick Lamar, who was cousins with Baby Keem's mom. Something struck Lamar that day. Kendrick wasn't just attending a funeral and going through the motions. He was watching. And what he saw was a 15-year-old kid standing up in front of a room full of grieving people and holding the entire thing together. Lamar wrote in an email, "I watched Keem carry the burdens of everyone's grief, including his own, all while maintaining the dignity and honor of his uncle. We're merely a reflection of our leaders, and Keem led the family to a place of love, compassion, and closure. Another level of respect was my gratitude." That's not just a nice thing to say about your little cousin. That's Kendrick Lamar, one of the most precise writers in the history of hip-hop, describing a genuine shift in how he saw another person. He went to that funeral knowing Keem existed. He left it, seeing the man Keem was becoming. A few days after the funeral, Lamar texted Keem. His life was about to change. Keem started sending beats. Kendrick passed them along to Dave Free, his longtime business partner and co-founder of pgLang. It was very cryptic, but Kendrick's like that when sharing music, Free said. Lamar didn't reveal the family ties until later, when he shared another song, this time with Keem rapping on it, in a high-pitched voice with a style reminiscent of Lil Uzi Vert.
Kendrick's work with pgLang is much more than aesthetic. It's an active investment into culture.
Kanye West, Playboy Cardi, and a little bit of Lamar himself. That's how it started. Not through an industry connection or submission to a label, through a funeral, through a teenager giving a eulogy and his older cousin paying attention to who he actually was. What followed from that moment eventually became family ties, Range Brothers and the Hillbillies. It became a Grammy win. It became pgLang and a debut album that landed at number 5 on the Billboard 200. But all of that was years down the road. In 2015, it was just two cousins who had grown closer through loss and were starting to build something together in private. Now, fast forward to 2026. Keem has a new album out called Casino, and he's doing press for it. He sat down with the New York Times, and naturally, someone asked him about the Drake beef. Because when you're Kendrick Lamar's cousin and collaborator, that question is going to come up. Keem's answer was pretty telling. He described the period as a sport. He said he was so confident that sometimes you forget to be proud. That's a real thing, actually. When you're that close to something, and that sure about how it ends, you're not really processing it the way everyone on the outside is. You're just watching it happen. Then he said something else that matters more. Keem said, knowing that the greatest artist of all time, in my opinion, is a fan of my work and what I can do. All cousins aside, all everything aside, that gives me the most confidence in the world.
You know what? Take these beats. Let me see what you do with these beats. You know what I'm saying? Like, my whole thing, you gotta work for this shit. Like, I don't give a fuck who you.
He specifically said, all cousins aside. He wasn't talking about family loyalty. He wasn't talking about having a famous relative pat him on the back, because that's what relatives do. He was talking about Kendrick Lamar as an artist, as a listener, finding his work impressive on its own terms. That distinction matters to Keem. He doesn't want to be seen as someone who got a shot because of blood. He wants the music to be the reason, and honestly, that's part of what makes the criticism around Casino so complicated to talk about. The album came out on February 20th, 2026. It was released through pgLang and Columbia Records and runs about 37 minutes. After a 4.5-year wait since the Melodic Blue, people had big expectations. Some of those expectations were reasonable. Some of them were probably unfair. For some listeners, the rollout was a major disappointment. They wanted bangers. They wanted the range. They felt that after all that time, Keem came back short. Those critiques spread, and they spread fast because that's how things work now. If an album doesn't hit immediately, the conversation moves on quickly and the negative takes get louder. But here's what actually happened with the album commercially, because the narrative around Casino being a flop isn't really supported by the numbers. Casino debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200 with 72,000 first-week units, 16,000 of which were pure sales. For context, the Melodic Blue opened with 54,000 first-week units back in 2021. So Keem actually improved on his debut, got his highest chart position ever, and did it on an album that people were calling a disappointment. That's a weird combination of narratives to hold at the same time. The single, Good Flirts, which features Kendrick, Lamar, and Momo Boyd, was the biggest track from the project out of the gate. It reportedly garnered 1.82 million Spotify streams in its first day on the platform, and it's a genuinely interesting song. It samples Walk On By The Undisputed Truth, and Dave Free had planned for Momo Boyd's appearance on it as early as 2022, when they began following each other. There was real intentionality behind the album's construction, even if the final product didn't land for everyone. The album also features Too Short on Sex Appeal, an intergenerational West Coast link-up that proved to be one of the project's most viral tracks, with TikTok users creating edits around it. When the criticism started coming, he didn't back away from the album or apologize for it. He reaffirmed his position. He went back to what he knows, that he made this album for a specific reason, from a specific place, and it was always going to be a different kind of project than the Melodic Blue. At his listening party in Los Angeles before the release, Keem said tonight is a celebration for those that go through things. I named it Casino because that's where I went through all of the things that I went through. Nobody wants to talk about their mom being that sort of way. I kind of changed my perspective on that a lot. It's an empowering thing. I wouldn't change my story ever. This album is for the child that walks home slow. That's not someone who made an album to chase a sound or win over critics. That's someone who made an album because they had something they needed to say. The name Casino connects directly back to where his uncle died. It's not an aesthetic choice. It's a personal one. The whole thing is rooted in real life. And Keem knows that, even when the internet decides the album isn't what they wanted. He's also still pretty early in his career, in the grand scheme of things. He was born in October 2000, which makes him 25 right now. Most artists don't have everything figured out at 25. Most people don't have everything figured out at 25. And Keem is doing this while navigating the additional complexity of being in the orbit of one of the greatest rappers ever recorded. A dynamic that can make everything you do feel like it needs to be measured against an impossible standard. There's curiosity to my story, Keem said. People have these opinions on how I came about. He's aware of the perception. He knows people look at the Kendrick connection first, and his music second sometimes. He's been dealing with that for years. His response has consistently been to keep making music and keep trying to find his own voice, which is exactly what Casino is, an attempt to tell his own story in his own way, separate from any halo effect. Now, about that halo effect and about what Kendrick himself might be working on. Kendrick Lamar surpassed 1 billion total streams on Spotify just 2 months into 2026. He's not putting out music right now, and he's still clearing 1 billion streams in 8 weeks. That tells you everything about where his momentum is sitting after 2024. On his Kickstream on February 18th, Akademiks said, if he drops this year, which I have, I'm under good authority to. I still say speculate that he has some things up his sleeve, and not just being on Baby Keem's album. So we'll see what he has to do as well. He was careful to say speculate, but he was also clear that this wasn't just guesswork. He claimed to have been told something, though he didn't say by who or what exactly it was. At the 68th Grammy Awards, Kendrick wore a boxing wrap on his right hand. Day Free later shared a close-up of it on Instagram. That detail spread immediately. People started treating it as a tease, a signal that something was being set up. Whether it was or wasn't, it landed that way. There's also the matter of a track tentatively called Deets, or Tiramisu, or Bodies, something Kendrick teased during the GNX era that was never officially released. Fans want to hear that song, and there's speculation that a new album would give him the opportunity to revisit it. Academics also said separately that Kendrick has got some shit cooking up and suggested he should bless the game with some features in the interim. That second part is unlikely. Kendrick doesn't do a lot of features outside his own circle, but the point about new music being in the pipeline has come up multiple times from multiple directions. There were also rumblings around a world tour being a real possibility, along with a comedy project with the South Park team that has been delayed indefinitely after reshoots and rewrites. So, the picture of what Kendrick's 2026 looks like is still pretty unclear. What's clear is that he's not disappearing. He's just quiet, which is his default mode before something happens. Put all of this together and you get a pretty coherent picture of where both Kendrick and Keem are right now. One of them just put out his most personal album to date, defending it honestly against criticism and showing real commercial growth despite the noise. The other one is somewhere quiet, building whatever comes next. The same way he's always operated. Their relationship started with a funeral in 2015 and a eulogy that a 15-year-old delivered better than most adults could.